So why don't we go back to the top of that list and just walk back down through it again. Is the board on board with going ahead to get quotes for walls and to touch up the ceiling in the auditorium?
I think so.
You talking about all the walls or just?
Well, they were talking about all the walls. Actually, Bruce talked about keeping the red and black detail up front, but painting everything that is either cream or white right now. They were going to take that off, but it was going to be all walls.
We're talking with these guys.
Yes.
Yes.
There'll be one of the
two
two
that
get
gets
quotes
close.
for that. Yep. So are you okay with us getting quotes for that? Okay. Parking lot. The committee asked for me to get the quote, and that's what the quote looks like. Do either one of the two of you from that committee have any comments or anything?
I'm all for it. Go for it.
And I guess I'm against it, so that's where we're at. We need to talk to more people about that.
I guess if we had to prioritize, it'd be towards the bottom of my list too, but Doug, did you?
I would ask the board if they do consider paving that parking lot at the middle school, that they look at if it's at all possible to expand that somewhat, because the parking is always a premium at activities at that building. So I don't know if there's actually room or not. But
I just don't think there's a good base there, that's why it's so mushy, but.
And it did get kind of expanded. I can't remember what Bruce said, but there used to be poles on the east side of it, and I think, or posts that stopped them, and I think they took those out to make it bigger. And I think maybe that's where, that would never have had a base, because on the other side of those posts would always been grass. I mean, I would not be afraid of buying some white rock or gravel or whatever people would think to expand that part, but they've already kind of got flagged off or sectioned off. That wouldn't bug me. But personally, as far as priority, I do think that it's a lot of money for something that would get used, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 times a year.
Well, we go round and round and round on this situation, and of course the people that use that have nothing but complaints. And of course we've talked about this many times, and I talked to Bruce exactly about that. And the thing about it is that people step off, and of course the rain can comes and you step into a soft content, and they can put more gravel on it, and you can set up then a soft, and you can't win. Over a period of time you can't win. So I think that's something that should have been done years ago, and they never did it. And they did expand it. Bruce did expand it. And I'd like to take a motion to move on that situation positively, and I wish I could get a second on it.
Can we wait, take a look at some of these projects and see what we're looking at for money, Dave, and then take a look at that project? Or do you feel it's a top priority in your mind?
In my mind it is.
I would like to see, I don't know, not to leave, but my opinion is hold off, because 51,000 for a box, and if we're going to talk about the roof again, get some of those bids in so we see where we're at. I mean, and I hate to keep putting things off, because I think we need to move on everything if we can, but
Is there anything on that list, before you go, is there anything on that list that is more of a priority to you? I'm not trying to pump you before you leave, but
you know,
but I guess I know.
yeah, I don't know. I think the sidewalks, you don't want anybody if they're really that unlevel, you don't want anybody walking and falling and getting sued. So I think if those are really, I think you need to take a look at that. And the greenhouse, if that's going to positively affect our kids' education, I think that would be one of the top ones too.
The greenhouse has always said that there's been extensive electrical problems. Is this going to cover it, or is this just opening up more problems?
Bruce did talk about that a little bit. He did.
That would be where the 15 to 20 would come into play. We'd be afraid of being able to do all of it for 15, because the shell itself is probably going to be somewhere around 11, and then you get inside the building and it's 2 heaters, fan motors, and then Bruce had mentioned that the electrical probably needs to take a look at too. Electrical in the greenhouse I would consider to be relatively simple. You're not running anything really extensive. Lights, some GFI outlets, and then you're wiring your control panel and running wire to your motors that are running, controlling the environment. It's not like you're doing a lot of extra fancy electrical inside the building for other things outside of controlling the temperature of the greenhouse. So that's why the estimate's more 15 to 20 is to not get into this project like I told them last Wednesday. I don't want to tell you it's this much. We get into the project, and now that we've spent this much money on, now it's going to take more. The 15 to 20 was the conservative estimate for that.
And so the greenhouse is set there with just junk in it for the last few years. What do you propose to do with the greenhouse?
Well,
renovate.
whether or not it's junk might be up to Bruce and Dave to make that establishment. It has been for some classroom storage. Our initial vision is to utilize it for the Ag Exploratory program, and then if it fits in the curriculum, into the science program for grades 5 through 8 too, depending upon what part of the curriculum has some sort of plant science instruction. There has been some discussion about being able to cooperate with the master gardeners in the community, from the simple fact that Larissa by herself, it's probably not logical to take 16 to 20 7th or 8th graders into a greenhouse at one time without some other assistance there if possible. And I've talked with Tom Duncan at the Extension office as well, and it seemed as though the master gardeners would be interested in something like that too. The second we've talked about that in class, I have high school students that think it's going to look just like the high school one, and I would argue against doing it that way. Simply because you have a rotation of kids every 9 weeks. You want to do the same exploratory, horticulture, plant science instruction with each group as they come through. And the production in the greenhouse in Lakeview is more year-round. There are seasonal things that are done. So the type of instruction would be different, but it would be exactly what exploratory is meant to be, is to expose those kids to those areas, to expand their education in plant science and horticulture science.
So can we get any closer bids on this in case is natural gas to that building too? Is it heated with natural gas?
It would appear as though there's some type of gas hookup there because of the two heaters that are there. As far as the different vendor is concerned, it's a Stuckey greenhouse. It was a Stuckey greenhouse built in '84. The siding, which is the bulk of that quote and estimate, is the re-siding kit that they do, because the siding only lasts 20 to 25 years. We're going to be looking at the same project or similar project in Lakeview probably within the next 5 to 10 years. Because that Lexan siding, it only lasts so long. Well, when you take that off, you have your bolts and extrusions and fasteners that all come off too, and you can either replace those or you have a whole bunch of caulk and replace all the holes where the original holes are at, and it's going to make more sense and have less leaks just to do all the extrusions and hardware with the siding.
But we haven't had an electrician look at it yet.
No, and we haven't, because the project first needed to come to you guys to see if, just in general, do we want to go, sort of like the painting. You just said, yeah, let's get quotes. Really the question is, do you want Scott and or Bruce to kind of work now on more specifically? Yeah.
Probably more quotes so we know what it's going to cost.
But is that the board's desire, I guess?
Certainly mine. I think that greenhouse was underutilized from the start, and it's been brought up to me, I don't know how many times.
That would be the most common question I've had since we've started sharing programs.
Why don't you use it, or something like that.
Why don't you get rid of it?
And actually, I know on the board we discussed getting rid of it several times. And I don't think I'd rather put some money into it, or at least look at doing that moving forward on this project, and so I'm all for it.
You can have the city guys look at the gas too to see how that, because it probably hasn't been heated.
That would be something either of the janitors would know. I mean, if Bruce was here or something, they'd tell you exactly what's probably over there. But
Bruce seemed pretty familiar with the process when that was put up in '84, so.
I would be for it too.
More cost, we just get some more cost estimates.
Get some more quotes.
when you did have a bid on getting the, like you said, the shell kit.
I have a bid from Stuckey for that,
Did
10
that
to
have a time
11.
limit?
That has a 30-day
Okay.
quote, and that was taken right at the end of May.
Okay.
I want to say either the week prior Memorial Day or the week of, and I think it was just the week prior, just the last few days of school.
And that was, if I remember right, 10 or 11,000. Was
Yep.
that kind of right?
Yep.
So there is a lot of room. I guess what I'm getting at is I'd like to move forward on this, at least maybe get that part ordered. If we had to wait another year to go further because of money, which I don't think we need to, I think we should just do the whole thing now. I'd like to get I'd like to move forward on it.